Zero taxes on crypto? That's kind of a wild idea, but it's what we're looking at today.
Yeah, for sure.
It might sound like it's too good to be true, right? But it is an actual proposal from Donald Trump.
That's right.
And it has people talking all over the world, especially those of you who are interested in crypto, like our listeners in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to really break down what this proposal actually means, what the potential benefits and challenges could be, and what it could possibly mean for people who are interested in crypto but are outside of the U.S.
Absolutely. It's definitely a proposal with the potential to change things, globally.
Yeah, and we're actually starting our deep dive today with a blog post that's from Bangladesh
Bitcoin.
that analyzes this whole scenario, specifically Trump's aim to get rid of capital gains taxes on crypto that is created in America.
It's interesting, isn't it, how Trump has really embraced this image of the crypto president.
Totally.
His goal to make America the crypto capital of the world seems to be kind of driving a lot of his policies in this area.
Totally. And it's not something that I think a lot of people would have predicted from him.
Right.
So let's try to break this down a little bit for everyone listening.
Okay.
When we talk about zero tax, we're specifically talking about getting rid of the capital gains tax on crypto that is created in America.
That's right.
So let's say, for example, you buy Bitcoin in Bangladesh and it goes up in value.
Yeah.
If you sold it for a profit in the U.S. right now, you'd have to pay taxes on that profit, right?
Right.
But this proposal is looking to totally get rid of that tax for crypto that's made in America.
Yeah, the blog post actually uses a really good example to kind of show this.
Okay.
Imagine you're using Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Right now, if the price of Bitcoin fluctuates even a tiny bit between when you bought the Bitcoin and when you bought the coffee, you could technically trigger something that has to be taxed.
Oh, wow.
This proposal is trying to simplify all of that and make using crypto for everyday things much easier.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because I know that that is a big barrier for a lot of people. Just like the taxes are very, very complicated.
Absolutely.
So, okay, that makes sense, but wouldn't that lead to the U.S. government losing a lot of tax revenue?
Yes.
Where would they make up for all that lost money?
That's a really good question, and it's one of the biggest things that this policy is facing right now. Because some people are saying that the government would have to find other ways to get that money.
Yeah.
Potentially that could mean taxes going up in other places.
So one area benefits and then another one suffers.
Yeah.
It's like a seesaw.
Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. And there's also this worry about creating an unfair advantage for crypto that's made in the U.S.
Right.
Potentially that could even stop other countries from being as creative.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this policy, like you said, is meant to boost the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it could create this kind of crypto divide globally where some countries are left behind.
Exactly. And that leads to some really big questions. Like, how do you help one area grow without hurting other areas at the same time?
Right.
And how do you prevent a system that's supposed to be decentralized from being controlled by just one country?
Right.
These are some of the complicated things that this proposal is making people talk about.
It's very complex, and there are a lot of different factors at play. So
Totally, yeah.
It's definitely going to be an interesting situation to watch unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've talked about a few of the potential downsides of this zero crypto tax policy.
Yeah.
But what about the potential benefits?
Yeah.
It's not all bad, right?
Of course not. There's a lot of excitement about this proposal, particularly what it could do for the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
By encouraging people to invest in American crypto projects, the U.S. could become like the leader in this area of technology, which is changing so fast.
Right. It's almost like a strategic move, isn't it?
Yeah.
To stay ahead in the global economy, especially with countries like China and India becoming such big players in tech.
For sure.
But could this lead to crypto colonialism in a way? Where the U.S. has way too much control over the global crypto market.
That's a really valid point, and it is something we should all be thinking about.
Yeah.
The cool thing about crypto is that it's decentralized. But if one country gets too much power, we risk just recreating the same problems that we see in the regular financial system.
Right. So it kind of goes against the whole point of crypto.
Exactly.
So how can we make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, it's going to take a global effort.
Yeah.
We need countries to work together and talk to each other to create fair and open rules that encourage creativity, but also stop anyone from having too much control.
Okay, so let's focus on the potential impact for like the individual investor, like our listener in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
How could this policy actually impact them? We talked about the rising tide effect, but what does that actually look like in real life?
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
If this policy leads to a boom in the U.S. crypto market, all that activity and investment could spread around the world.
Okay.
And make the value of cryptocurrencies go up everywhere.
Okay.
So even if our listener in Bangladesh doesn't buy U.S.-made crypto, they could still see the value of their own crypto go up.
That's really interesting. So even though they don't get the tax break directly, they could still benefit from the overall market trends.
Right.
But what about using crypto for like daily purchases?
Yeah.
You said earlier that this policy could make it easier to use Bitcoin for things like getting coffee.
Right.
How would that actually work?
Right now, one of the biggest things stopping people from using crypto every day is the taxes. Even small transactions can be taxed if the price of the cryptocurrency changes. This proposal wants to get rid of all that complexity and make it as easy to spend Bitcoin as using your credit card.
That would be a really big deal, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
But honestly, do you think people would really start using Bitcoin to buy things like groceries or coffee?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
Especially if we see more platforms and payment systems that are easy to use and make crypto really simple and intuitive.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not just about making it easier to buy and sell crypto. It's also about making it easier to actually use in everyday life.
Absolutely.
Okay, I see. But what about the environmental impact of all of this?
Yeah.
Bitcoin mining uses a lot of energy.
Right.
And that's a big problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Could this policy make that problem even worse?
That's the tricky part of this proposal. Because on one hand, it could lead to the development of cryptocurrencies and mining technologies that are more energy efficient.
Okay.
But if it leads to a huge increase in people using and mining crypto, it could also make the energy consumption problem worse.
So it's kind of a trade-off, right? Like, we need to balance the good things about crypto with the environmental costs.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a complicated problem, and I'm really interested to see how it all plays out.
It's something that we all need to keep talking about and thinking about carefully.
Yeah.
The future of crypto depends on us finding solutions that are good for people and the planet.
That's a really good point. And speaking of the future, let's talk about the potential long-term effects of this policy.
Okay.
If it does actually happen, how do you think it will change the world of crypto in the years to come?
Well, one thing that seems pretty clear is that it could make crypto more mainstream.
Yeah.
If the U.S., as such a powerful economic force, embraces crypto this way, it could show other countries that crypto's here to stay.
Yeah.
And we might see a domino effect where more and more countries start adopting crypto-friendly policies to keep up.
So it's not just about the U.S., it's about a potential shift in how the whole world views and uses crypto.
Right.
Do you think this could eventually lead to crypto replacing traditional money like the U.S. dollar or the Bangladeshi taka?
That's a big prediction, and it's impossible to say for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely that we'll see traditional currencies and cryptocurrencies existing together for a while.
Okay.
Crypto will keep changing, and its role in the global financial system will probably become more important.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different things today.
Yeah.
We've talked about the potential economic impacts, the risks and benefits for different countries, even the possibility of using Bitcoin to buy coffee.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important takeaway for people listening?
I think the most important thing, especially for our listeners in Bangladesh, is to understand that even though this is a U.S. policy, its impact will probably be felt globally.
Right.
The crypto market is connected, and changes in one country can have ripple effects everywhere. So staying informed about these developments and understanding how they could affect your investments and your financial decisions is really important.
That's a great point. This policy could cause some really big changes in the crypto world, not just in the U.S., but globally.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that we're still in the early days of crypto.
Yeah.
The next few years will be important for shaping its future, and this policy could play a big role in that process.
Okay, so a lot to think about before we move on to our final thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick pause to let all of this sink in.
Okay.
This zero crypto tax proposal is complicated. There are a lot of moving parts. And it's important to really think about all this information before we make any decisions or draw any conclusions.
I agree. Sometimes just taking a moment to reflect can help us connect the dots and understand things better.
Totally. We'll be right back. to wrap up our deep dive into the world of zero crypto tax. Stay tuned. So we just discussed some of the potential downsides of this zero crypto tax policy, but what about the potential benefits? It's not all doom and gloom, is it?
Of course not. No. There's a lot of excitement around this proposal, particularly the potential impact on the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
By incentivizing investment in American crypto projects, the U.S. could really solidify its position as like a leader in this crazy fast-evolving tech landscape.
Right. It's almost like a strategic move to maintain their economic edge globally.
Yeah.
Especially with countries like China and India emerging as these huge tech giants.
Right, exactly.
But could this lead to a kind of crypto colonialism, where the U.S. exerts too much influence over the global crypto market?
It's a valid concern for sure, and it's definitely something we should all be thinking about.
Yeah.
The beauty of crypto is its decentralized nature, but if one country becomes too dominant, we risk just recreating the same power imbalances we see in the traditional financial system.
Right. It kind of defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
So how do we ensure that doesn't happen?
Well, it requires a global effort. We need international collaboration and dialogue to establish fair and transparent regulations that foster innovation while preventing any one entity from having too much control.
So kind of finding that balance.
Yeah, exactly. Striking that balance.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the potential impact for the individual investor, like our listener in Bangladesh.
Okay.
How could this policy impact them?
Yeah.
We talked about a rising tide effect.
Right.
How would that actually play out?
Okay, so think of it this way.
Yeah.
If this policy leads to like a boom in the U.S. crypto market, right? That increased activity and investment could have like a ripple effect globally, driving up the value of cryptocurrencies across the board.
Oh, okay.
So even if our listener in Bangladesh isn't directly investing in U.S.-made tokens, they can still see their crypto portfolio grow.
Interesting. So even though the tax break wouldn't apply to them directly, they could still benefit from the overall market trends.
Right, exactly.
But what about using crypto for everyday purchases? You mentioned earlier that this policy could make it easier to use Bitcoin for things like buying a cup of coffee. How so?
Right now, one of the biggest hurdles for everyday crypto use is the complexity of the tax implications.
Yeah.
Even small transactions can trigger taxable events if the price of the cryptocurrency fluctuates.
Oh, wow.
This proposal aims to eliminate that complexity, make it as easy to spend Bitcoin as it is to swipe a credit card.
That would be a game changer for sure. But realistically, do you think people would actually start using Bitcoin to buy groceries or coffee?
I think it's certainly possible, especially if we see a surge in user-friendly platforms and payment systems that make using crypto just seamless and intuitive.
Yeah, so it's not just about making crypto easier to buy and sell, but also about making it easier to use in everyday life.
Absolutely.
But what about the environmental impact? Bitcoin mining uses a ton of energy, and that's a major concern for a lot of people. Could this policy make that problem worse? That's
the double-edged sword of this proposal.
Yeah.
On the one hand, by encouraging innovation in the crypto space, it could lead to the development of more energy-efficient cryptocurrencies and mining technologies.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if this policy leads to like a massive increase in crypto adoption and mining activity, it could exacerbate the energy consumption problem.
So it's a bit of a trade-off.
Yeah.
We need to balance the potential benefits of crypto with the environmental costs. It's a complex challenge, and I'm curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that requires like ongoing discussion and careful consideration. The future of crypto really depends on finding sustainable solutions that benefit both humanity and the planet.
Absolutely. And speaking of the future, let's shift gears and talk about the potential long-term implications of this policy.
Okay.
If it does go into effect, how do you see it shaping the crypto landscape in the years to come?
Well, one thing that's clear is that this policy could really accelerate the mainstream adoption of crypto. If the U.S., a global economic powerhouse, embraces crypto in this way, it could signal to other countries that crypto was here to stay.
Yeah.
We might see like a domino effect with more countries adopting crypto-friendly policies to remain competitive.
So it's not just about the U.S., it's about the potential for a global shift in how we view and use crypto. Do you think this could eventually lead to crypto replacing traditional currencies like the U.S. dollar or the Bangladeshi taka?
That's a bold prediction, and it's tough to say for sure.
Yeah.
What's more likely is that we'll see a coexistence of traditional currencies and cryptocurrencies for the foreseeable future, Crypto will continue to evolve, and its role in the global financial system is likely to become more prominent.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the potential benefits to the U.S. economy, the risks of a crypto divide the possibility of mainstream adoption for everyday purchases, and the environmental challenges. What do you think is the most crucial takeaway for our listeners?
I think the most important thing for our listeners, especially those in Bangladesh, is to understand that while this is a U.S.-centric policy, its impact will likely be felt globally.
Right.
The crypto market is interconnected, and any major shifts in one country can create ripple effects around the world. Staying informed about these developments and understanding how they could potentially impact your investments and financial decisions is key.
That's a great point. This policy could be a catalyst for significant changes in the crypto landscape, not just in the U.S., but globally.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages of crypto's evolution. The next few years will be crucial in shaping its future, and this policy could play a major role in that process.
Okay, so much to think about. Before we move on to our final thoughts, let's take a quick pause to let all of this sink in. This zero crypto tax proposal is a complex issue with a lot of moving parts, and it's important to digest all of the information before we draw any conclusions.
I agree. Sometimes a moment of reflection is all we need to connect the dots and gain a deeper understanding.
We'll be right back to wrap up our deep dive into the world of zero crypto tax. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back.
We are.
For the final part of our deep dive into this potential zero crypto tax policy.
Yeah, it's been really interesting looking at all the different sides of this, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We've talked about the potential impacts on the economy, the risks and benefits for different countries, even the idea of using Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
But now I kind of want to bring it back to our listeners in Bangladesh.
Okay.
Like, what does all of this actually mean for them?
Well, I think the biggest thing for our listeners to take away from this is the importance of staying informed and being flexible.
Okay.
Even though this is a U.S. policy, its impact will probably be felt globally.
Right.
The crypto market is kind of like a network. A change in one part can cause ripples and create opportunities and challenges in unexpected places.
So for someone in Bangladesh who's already interested in crypto, what should they be looking out for?
Well, they should definitely pay attention to how this policy, if it's actually put into place, plays out in the U.S. Does it really lead to a lot of investment and innovation like people are saying?
Yeah.
Or does it create new problems that we haven't thought about? The answers to those questions will affect the global crypto market as a whole.
Okay, so basically understanding the ripple effects and being ready to adjust your own crypto strategy based on what happens.
Exactly.
But it's not just about the market, is it?
No.
This policy could also change how crypto is regulated in Bangladesh.
Exactly. If the U.S. is embracing crypto in this way, it could put pressure on other countries like Bangladesh to make their own stance on crypto regulation clearer.
Yeah.
And that could actually be a good thing.
Okay.
Because it might mean more clarity and certainty for crypto investors in Bangladesh.
So this policy could lead to some good changes in how crypto is regulated.
Yeah.
Making it easier and safer for people in Bangladesh to be a part of the crypto world.
Exactly. And this brings up another important point for our listener. Okay, if you're interested in crypto, don't just focus on the technology or what's happening in the market. Get involved in the discussions about crypto policy that are happening in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Make your voice heard, advocate for rules that protect investors, encourage innovation, and make sure Bangladesh isn't left behind as this space changes so quickly.
That's such a great point. It reminds us that the future of crypto isn't just being decided by governments and big companies. It's being shaped by individuals like our listeners who are part of the conversation and fighting for the future they want to see.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important question for our listener to consider.
Okay.
If this zero crypto tax policy happens, what kind of opportunities could it open up for someone in Bangladesh?
Yeah.
Could it lead to new ways to invest? Could it make it easier to be involved in global crypto projects?
Right.
Could it inspire new crypto-based solutions that are specifically designed for the needs of Bangladesh?
Wow, those are some really great questions.
Yeah.
It's like we've opened up this whole new world of possibilities, and it's up to each individual to explore them and figure out how to best take part.
I think that's a perfect way to end our conversation today.
Yeah.
The future of crypto is full of potential, and it's exciting to think about how that potential can be used to benefit people in communities around the world, including in Bangladesh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a really interesting exploration of this complex and quickly changing topic.
And to our listeners, remember, the crypto world is constantly evolving.
Yes.
Stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged. The future of crypto is in your hands.
So true. Thanks for listening, everyone.